Got punted.
What'd you do to him?
In the closet.
He's happy.
Buck, what made you feel comfortable activating Marte for this series?
Oh, we talked about it. He had a good, yesterday we had batting practice. Actually, a young man that came over in the Naquin trade, left-hander threw to him in rough. We had Tommy Hunter through. He's been taking some form of that for a little while behind the scenes. We knew it was a possibility, but there's some unknown. You know, I've learned that, you know, from a trust standpoint, when, you know, it was all over, Joey and I and he and Curb and Shabby, you know, we talked a little bit. Pretty short conversation where he's concerned. When he tells you something, we've gotten a pretty good, you know, he's a guy that we've trusted with certain things over the year. You learn, but who knows? You know, there's some unknown there. You know, who's 100% this time of year? We'll see. But we do have to. So I think it's evidenced by, you know, where he's hitting in the order a little bit. But you know, I'm hoping that things go well and we're moving back up tomorrow.
Yeah, I was going to ask, so is him batting sixth just because of the unknown at this point with what you're going to get from him?
Yeah, I think especially with, you know, where they are in their bullpen and things, we have to be careful. You know, and you go, okay, if anybody, not just Starling, but I say, okay, if something happens, they have to come out. What does it create? So it works the best for us right now tonight with all the things that could happen. We hope doesn't happen, but you got to be prepared.
Down here on the right, Augustin.
Bob, you dived on the mound tonight.
Pardon?
You dived on the mound tonight. Based on he passed in postseason, do you think you have better shot to come out with the W?
Well, he's one of the best pitchers in the league, and baseball for that matter. That's why he's been so coveted through the years by a lot of different clubs. And you know, if he's on top of his game, one thing you know for sure is your pitcher's going to have to pitch well. You know, that's one, when you're facing good pitching. Kind of hit me last 3 home games. It reminded me of the quality of pitching we've been facing for a long time, it seems like. And you know, when those, I've said many times, when a starting pitcher is on top of his game and the hitter's on top of his game, the pitcher wins. And that's why it's such a premium. And that's why it's hard to do and why it's hard to keep healthy. He's a good one. Well, we got our work cut out for us. He's got a lot of weapons, a lot of weapons.
Far left, John.
Is the Game 2 starter still not to be announced? And is that all strategy, or is there a...
I can't even...
You there?
Oh, John.
Hello. Yes. Is the Game 2 starter still not announced? And is that because of a strategy?
No, it's not strategy. Well, I guess, depending on what you want to call it, win or lose, you know, the win or loss tonight will dictate who's pitches tomorrow.
Well, I would call that strategy,
That's
but okay.
somewhat strategy, but it's pretty much an open book. I think everybody's got it.
Okay, is the blister any part of this? And if there is a blister issue, was there a consideration, and why not carry Walker or Carrasco, who actually beat the Padres a couple times?
It's not an issue. We don't foresee it to be an issue. It's one of the reasons. And if we, you know, if we're fortunate enough to win 2 out of 3, we're going to need a pitcher on Tuesday, starting pitcher on Tuesday.
Down here on the front on the right, Andy.
How, if at all, does that uncertainty on tomorrow's starter impact the 2, Bassett and DeGrom? Are they both just being told to prepare as if they're starting tomorrow?
They know exactly what's going on. They know exactly what's going to dictate who's pitching tomorrow. It's not, I don't look at it that big a strategy as far as that, but I understand that what it may. They know, they're in, they're prepared. They've known it for quite a while.
Both of them are prepared to start tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Jake usually doesn't go home. I don't care if it's a day game the next day. He usually stays around. I don't know what they'll do tonight.
Left side in the back there, Ian.
Buck, if in the event that you win tonight, one school of thought would be to put your best pitcher on the mound and try to end the series as quickly as possible. Is that a compelling case? And if not, why not?
There's some, you know, well, we can talk about it after tonight. This is about tonight's game for me personally, but you can make that argument. You can also, you know, there's always a lot of things that you have to take consideration that may not be something you're going to talk about here. But if we took in all the factors of where the risk and the probabilities, and just felt like this is our best way to go forward to satisfy all the things that you may have to pivot from. But, you know, and we think Chris Bassett's pretty good. He's been one of our best pitchers, and, you know, I think Jake and Max, you know, if you look at the number of starts, you know, Chris has been, you know, I don't consider Chris not a good option. I consider him a real good option.
There in the middle on the left, in the back.
Hey, Buck, what made you comfortable taking Alvarez on the roster?
A lot of it had to do with the construction of their. We projected we thought they would take 4 left-handers in Minaya, and their closer being left-handed. It allows us to do some things earlier, kind of looking at where we may match up late. Also, tomorrow's game, and he's handled himself well. Really like his selectiveness the last couple of games. But he seems to, it'll get sped back up again. But he's going to be a good one. Just a matter of when.
Do you see him?
I hope it's the next three games.
Do you see him starting tomorrow?
I'm not going there yet. Let's see how tonight manages. I'm not going to get through tonight first. He's certainly a good option.
The other righty, Ruff. How is his neck, and what made?
What?
How is his neck?
Good. He's been taking some at bats for a while now, the last 4 or 5 days, and feels good. He had some really good at bats yesterday. I think he took 5 or 6, maybe more than that, between the left-hander and Tommy even. But no, he and Starling have done a lot of work to be ready.
Okay, down in front right here on the right, Dave.
Buck, did you give any consideration to Carrasco and Walker in a
course.
bullpen role?
Sure. Yeah, we did. I talked to them both last night when we finally shored things up. Yeah, I did. It was tough. It's always tough this time of year. Regardless of who it was, you're going to be able to ask that question, and should, about somebody. Those aren't fun conversations. Heck, Tommy Hunter's tough. He's been a rock for us. Williams, tough. And I think the other part of it being a 3-game series as opposed to 5 gives a whole different dynamic to it. And I wish there was more stuff to draw from about history with that, but there isn't. It's kind of you could have made a case for taking 11 pitchers. And then all of a sudden, the other part of it is because the extra inning rule has changed, it gives you a little different, something else to think about too. So, 3 games, and I think Jeremy and them have done a great job of putting ourselves in a pretty good place where if we need to extend some people, we can.
On the left there in the middle.
Buck, given McCann's career numbers against Darvish, was that a tough decision to go with Nito over him tonight?
It was. It was.
And what
really
went into
figured into it, but Tomas has been one of our hotter hitters. James had a good game the last game. I was kidding him. I said, well, heck, we've been playing you out of position. Should be playing at first base. He actually beat me to it. He said, all this time. It's funny. We looked at some of the exit velocities and different things. He's one of the more unlucky hitters on our team if you look at balls hit hard. So gives us a good option, but it was a consideration. Yeah, I saw that.
We're going to go Howie in the front row on the left.
But given the small sample size that you saw from McGill in his new role, what sold you that he could help out of the bullpen?
A little bit of, history. I think the last couple of outings, we started to see him a little more like the guy we thought we might get. And quite frankly, there's been a couple of little adjustments that Jeremy and him have made mechanically that played out real well the last 2 outings. And, we just trusted it, and we'll see where it takes us. It's tough. It's a good experience for him, too, he and Pete, because we know they're going to be a part of things next year, more than likely.
Stay over there, Disha.
With Naquin not being on the roster, does that suggest more so Marte is pretty much full bore in right field, or is it more of a lefties on the mound situation?
A little bit of both. We hope. I'm not going to sit here and smugly tell you that this is exactly what Starling's going to do. I'm going to be, looking like everybody else is. But it's like when I was talking to Tyler. This is 3 games. We feel like this is the best way for us to go against what we think is going to be thrown at us. No pun intended. And things change. If we're fortunate enough to it's going to be tough to get through this. We know that. But, things could change. Not this 3 games, but I hope we have the opportunity to change things. It's going to be a challenge.
Okay, far right, front row.
Historically, and it feels even more so in the last few years, teams that hit more home runs tend to do very well in the playoffs. How do you feel your offensive style lends itself to a 3-game series?
We'll see. I don't mean to be, it's like, that's why we play the games. That's why it's intriguing. Things that appear on paper don't always play out that way. Otherwise, nobody would be here. I mean, it's like, I know what history states. There's been teams that, you put a team together to withstand the long haul, and then it's always fascinating to see if it can handle the short one. Pitching usually, starting pitchers sometimes that have great track records from the regular season that doesn't play out. I don't know. I wish I could watch it and critique it like everybody else is able to. I'm just glad people care enough to watch. So I hope it's entertaining.
Thanks a lot, Buck.
Harold, you watching? Shudder.